During the events of the Granola the Survivor arc in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta achieved a new form that gave him a glimpse at the true power of a god of destruction. That form was Ultra Ego. Rather than following in the footsteps of Goku toward the pursuit of Ultra Instinct, Vegeta went down his own path toward a power that better suited his personality, and through his training with Beerus, learned the fundamentals of destruction energy and what it truly meant to be a destroyer. The results of his training were shown off in full force during his fight against Granola, and while it looked like he had the upper hand for a bit, Vegeta ultimately couldn't secure the win, and the reason for this was because he didn't have the heart of a destroyer. No matter how outstanding of a warrior he was, no matter how skillful he was with the Hakai technique, he just wasn't capable of using Ultra Ego as effectively as he would have been in the past. The one thing that was holding him back from becoming the perfect god of destruction was guilt. Guilt over the actions of not just himself, but for the rest of the Saiyans. We learned through Beerus that to be a true god of destruction, you can't be held back by the emotion of guilt or any other feelings that would negatively impact your capability of destruction. In order to destroy something or to erase somebody from existence, you have to be free of any emotions that would be holding you back. And now that Vegeta is at that point in his life where he's feeling guilty over his past actions, he's inadvertently restricting his growth in power. Now, the concept of being free from emotion to make full use of destruction energy, it's pretty similar to the concept of the Ultra Instinct technique, where your mind had to be clear of any thoughts in order for your body to move and react on its own. Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, despite being very different at their core, are very similar in construct and follow the same kind of rules and restrictions that make it very difficult for somebody to learn. However, we've seen what happens when those restrictions get broken, with Goku managing to tap into several different variations of Ultra Instinct, even being able to incorporate his own emotions into his UI form to make it more powerful and unique to himself. Of course, it took Goku several story arcs to get to the point where he is now, but Vegeta's journey with Ultra Ego is just beginning, and based off what we saw in the Granola arc, his training is far from over. In a sense, Vegeta's lack of mastery over Ultra Ego boils down to his own personal struggles, and with there still being room for improvement moving forward, what exactly is the future of Ultra Ego Vegeta? Is he doomed to never master Ultra Ego due to his inability to move on from the past? Or could he be just like Goku and master the technique in his own way? If Vegeta were to ever obtain his own version of true Ultra Ego, what would it look like? Of course, we'll see Vegeta master Ultra Ego at some point, since that's just how Dragon Ball works, but I don't think he'll master it in the way that we're all thinking. I see a lot of people wanting Vegeta to take over Beerus' job as God of Destruction, and while that would be a cool idea for a what if, or it's a fun little visual, it's not at all what he would want. Throughout the series, Vegeta has gone on such a long journey of self-discovery, learning what it means to protect others, and he's been taking the proper steps of taking accountability for his past actions. I just don't see him completely throwing all that away in exchange for power. We've already seen him do that once before, and based on who he is now, there's no way that he'd go down that route again. But don't let that fool you into thinking that Ultra Ego is a bust, because I think it's important to understand that Vegeta can still master it even without throwing all his emotions out the window. Beerus only says that for a god of destruction to do his job properly, he can't be held back by guilt. But if Vegeta doesn't want to become a god of destruction in the first place and just wants to learn destruction energy, he only needs to find a way to overcome that mental block, restricting him from using Ultra Ego as its own thing. It is entirely possible that these two don't have to go hand in hand, just like how Goku can use Ultra Instinct to its fullest extent, but he doesn't have to be an angel to do it. In fact, I see this being a way to explain the difference between Ultra Ego and Toppo's God of Destruction form from the Tournament of Power. If you think about it, those two forms are practically the same thing, since they both let the user take over the powers of a God of Destruction and grant them access to destruction energy. But it's possible that what separates these two, aside from how they look, is that one is used by someone who fully embraces their role as a destroyer, and the other is not. Ultra Ego, from what we've seen, is just the result of Vegeta's destruction training under Beerus, but since he's not fully committing to the idea of being a god of destruction, it's possible that Vegeta thought he couldn't muster Ultra Ego without letting go of his emotions, and thus he created that mental block. When it comes to Toppo though, we know full well that he was next in line to take over the position of God of Destruction for Universe 11, so there wasn't any room for him to have that mental block like Vegeta, because he wanted to have that role. and at the end of the Tournament of Power, Toppo was able to fully embrace that role of becoming a destroyer, taking on traits and seemingly mastering what he had learned up until that point. Toppo's heart was in the place where it needed to be. He was fully intending on taking over as God of Destruction, and thus when the time came for him to let loose on his emotions, he achieved that destroyer form with that super cool looking design. But with Vegeta, since he's not committed to the idea of being a destroyer, that's why he's achieving a form different from Toppo's, almost as if it's an incomplete version of what we saw with Toppo. Of course, it is still possible that Ultra Ego could just be an incomplete version of Toppo's destroyer form, and that if Vegeta were to master it, even in his own unique way, he'd get a similar looking form. However, it would make the most sense to me for these two forms to be slightly different based on how committed the users are to becoming a destroyer. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that theory down in the comments. Because I know there's a lot of people that want him to look like Toppo, there's some people that want him to look like a Super Saiyan 4, there's some people that want him to grow eyebrows. Let me know what you want to see down in the comments. But regardless of what Mastered Ultra Ego looks like, I still believe that Vegeta's level of commitment to becoming a destroyer is significantly different from Toppo's, and that's why their forms look significantly different. Vegeta only really wants the power because it's something new for him to learn and discover, and it's separate from Goku's Ultra Instinct, but he doesn't want the responsibilities that come with the God of Destruction position, and like I've said before, if he can overcome that mental block and realize that he doesn't need to become a destroyer to obtain that power, he can find a way to turn it into his own thing in a future story arc. And if you ask me, what would be most interesting is if, based on how the Granola arc ended with Black Frieza, there's already a blueprint lined up for Vegeta having a reason to master Ultra Ego. No matter how the story goes down, even if Black Frieza ends up going to war against the strongest characters in the series like Beerus, Goku, Broly, Orange Piccolo, and even Gohan Beast, I feel like it's only appropriate for Vegeta to be the one to finally put Frieza down for the count. Just imagine this, having Vegeta use the Hakai technique to erase Frieza from existence once and for all so he could never come back to the land of the living, it would have such a significant impact on Vegeta's character and could serve as motivation for him to continue his destruction training. If you ask me, Vegeta wouldn't have any guilt destroying Frieza like he would anybody else, and by allowing himself to destroy Frieza without remorse, he'd open that doorway toward mastering Ultra Ego. We've already seen him anxiously waiting for that final battle against Frieza, so whenever the time finally comes for them to meet face to face once again, it only makes sense for Vegeta to finally look past his guilt, master Ultra Ego by his own means, and erase the one person in his life who caused him to feel these levels of guilt in the first place. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Vegeta will eventually master Ultra Ego? And if so, how do you want it to look? And how should it be executed? Should it be done in a similar way to Toppo's destroyer form, or should he find a way to turn Ultra Ego into his own form like Goku did with Ultra Instinct? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'd love to hear all your thoughts on Vegeta being the one to erase Frieza once and for all. Would it be a deserved win, or should Goku or Gohan get the finishing blow? As always, thank you all so much for watching today's quick discussion video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more Dragon Ball content, and if you want to watch more videos like this, remember to turn on notifications so you never miss any of my content. Until my next video, I'm InnovativeJdawg, and I'll be seeing all of you Dragon Ball fans later. See ya!